Hey guys, welcome back to Buckle Up.
Buckle. Yeah. Let me see if I can get this latched. See if
Yeah,
I've lost any weight the
room.
last week.
There's
Oh yeah, I got it.
There's plenty of room.
All right, this week's topic is heating ignition sequence. So ask your questions in the chat on this topic, and these two fellows will tackle them for you. Before we get started, our next Buckle Up is October 21st. So mark that on your calendar and stay tuned. And throw it over to you guys.
October 21.
Sounds good. All right.
Mikey.
Well, we are coming into heating season because
We are.
starting to get a lot of tech support calls on heating. So,
But not enough. It's not cold enough yet in Southern California for you to put on socks.
it can be minus 20 and I'm not putting on no flipping socks.
All right, as you were.
So-
it has to start off with me messing with you.
Of course.
You know, it wouldn't be the
You know,
same.
and don't think that he only does it when we're here. He has to practice all throughout the week.
And we also have to put in the disclaimer.
Don't try this at home.
Yeah, don't try this at home, but, you know, I tried water, didn't work. So if you guys can hook me up, if somebody can hashtag those fine folks at Diet Pepsi to PepsiCo to help Brian out, that'd be
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
all right. So heating season's coming.
It's coming.
Done enough interrupting you.
Everybody else does. No, so we just kind of wanted to run through the basic heating ignition sequence because I was talking to one of our engineers who shall remain nameless.
Listen.
And he's like, you know, Mike, but you don't understand. You got to have the flash codes. You got to know what the flash codes are. And the thing is, you don't. You really don't. Because the reason they put the flash codes in was so many people were struggling to try to figure out what was going on and everything else. So I walked our unnamed engineer through the ignition sequence and he goes, oh, that makes perfect sense. So when you're dealing with a heating system with the typical stuff we deal with, you know, warm air furnaces, typically what's going to happen is on a call for W1, depending upon who the manufacturer is and who in their infinite wisdom have decided different things, you're going to either go through a pre-purge or just a purge for a given period of time, and then it's going to start looking at to make sure that you're moving air. So it's going to go ahead and start your inducer motor.
Right.
So then,
So the inducer motor comes on.
Yep.
It'll run for a period of time, which is the purge part.
Mhm.
It's making sure that there is no gases, ignitable gases in the heat exchanger before it turns on either a hot surface igniter, almost
most of them.
spark igniter, whatever that device is.
So we're going to go through and we're going to turn around and we're going to prove that there's some airflow. Now, currently to my knowledge, and maybe somebody's got another one out there, there's basically 4 methods of proving that airflow. A differential pressure switch, a sail switch, a centrifugal switch in the motor to tell it it's up to speed, and Carrier likes the Hall effect CTs where they're actually measuring the current on the motor. And one thing that you'll find is if you're not moving a lot of air, your current to the inducer motor will be substantially less than nameplate amperage. You know, typically 85-90%, and you're moving pretty decent air.
Yep. And to put that into perspective, guys, if you take a blower door off while the blower's running, the amperage on the motor will go up because you freed up the air available to the blower. So by putting the blower door back on, reamp your motor, you'll see that the amperage is down. Plug the filters, amperage drops. Squirrel cage blowers are affected by the amount of air they can grab.
Yeah. Now, there's a few problems that can occur there. One of the ones I've seen is that the combustion blower wheel gets corroded and everything, and so a bunch of the blades are eaten away, so it's not going to move air.
Right.
Now, you can either block the input, your combustion air intake, or you can block the flue. In either case, you're going to prevent enough air from moving,
Yep.
and so you're going to have problems. So what's going to happen is the furnace is going to say, I'm not satisfying this condition, so I'm not going on to the next step.
Correct.
So your next step would be, it's going to prove that all the safeties are there and everything is good. It's going to now turn on, typically what we see today are hot surface igniters, and it's going to bring on the gas valve. And then here again, somebody has figured out that they want so long for the gas valve to be on, and if it doesn't prove in a given time, then they're going to turn it back off again. So what's going to happen there, if you have a bad hot surface igniter, then you can open the gas valve for as long as you want. You're not going to ignite the gas, and it's going to say, we didn't prove flame, so shut off. So you got different things that, so if you don't turn around and bring on the blower and prove that you got airflow, you're never going to move to the next step, which would be to bring on your hot surface igniter and open your gas valve. So this is all sequential.
Right.
So if you got something not happening, kind of look at it and say, okay, I got from here to here to here, and then things stopped. Okay, so look right there to see what's going on. Now, one of the new things that they're starting to do is they're starting to use combination hot surface igniters and flame rods.
Yes.
Where they're using both in the same package. So what's going to happen now is we brought on our hot surface igniter. We had gas flowing into the combustion chamber, and now it's either going to light or it's not going to light. And hopefully life is good, and So if it lights, now typically the way that they're doing it now is flame rectification, where you've got a little bit of current flow through the flame, and that tells it, okay, I've got a flame here, so you're good, kill the hot surface igniter, because we don't need to keep that thing hot, leave the gas valve on, and then typically nowadays what they're going to do is they're going to time out and say 45 seconds after we prove that we have flame, go ahead and bring on the blower. Versus the old days where you had a bimetal switch that would rotate and say, click, okay, turn the fan on.
Or if the fan didn't come on, it would click again.
Yeah, hopefully. So if you bring the fan on, everything's moving right along. Now, if you're not moving enough air, you're not going to turn around and dissipate that heat from the heat exchanger, and so you're going to continue to heat up the heat exchanger, and you're going to drop off on one of your limit switches.
Right.
Okay, and again,
Referred to as a high limit.
high limit, or you can have one of the auxiliary limits, or
The auxiliary limit, now you get into a different end. The high limit is typically reading the area of the firebox, and your auxiliaries are typically reading in the blower section.
you also
And then
have
don't forget the rollout
the
switches.
flame rollout switches. That's where I was going. And you've got the flame rollout switches. All right. So this is manual reset.
Yes.
So the thing is, if you've got a rollout switch that's tripped, you're never going to go through any of this. It's not going to start. In a lot of cases, they put those rollout switches in the red wire going down to the thermostat. So nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, nothing will happen. It's all about forcing the client to call for a technician to come out and look at it. Rollout switch is just what it says. It's funny how things are what they
Air
are.
conditioning guys aren't that smart, so they got to keep it simple for us.
Refrigerators refrigerate.
Compressors
Toasters
compress.
toast. Toasters compress. Now, rollout switch is just that. If there's something going on in that heat exchanger that the flame literally rolls out of the cabinet. So before it burns up all the wires, it hits that
Burns the house down.
It hits a temperature sensor that will trip.
Right.
And like you said, it's typically a manual reset.
Right. And you can have issues where it can be on the not enough airflow across the heat exchanger, or it can also be that your draft isn't working properly and you're keeping way too much heat in the heat exchanger.
Well, we're coming into, like Michael said, we're coming into the heating season, and blowflies absolutely love the odor in natural gas.
Really?
So what does the pipe smell like in a furnace? if you've ever taken a furnace apart and actually smelled the gas line, it smells like the additive that they put in. So blowflies will get into those orifices and plug them. So on your first startups, if you're having a problem, double check that you actually have gas coming out the orifices.
No, let's throw a little trivia in there. You know why you can smell natural gas?
They added an additive?
They added an additive because they burned down some buildings and killed a bunch of kids.
So it's like natural gas, propane, they have odor, they've put odorizers in them. Of course, propane and natural gas totally have a different smell, but the reason is to detect it. The actual gas itself has no odor, it is odorless. So they did that so that we could detect leaks. R290 is propane non-odorized.
Yeah, what originally happened is there was a school in Oklahoma and the basement filled up with natural gas that wasn't odorized, and there was an explosion and several kids were killed. So we have a tendency of fixing things after we screw up.
Hindsight's 20/20, baby. It hasn't changed in our world.
No, it hasn't changed. So anyway, so now we run through here. We've done all of our heating and everything. One of the big things to look for if you're going out on a limit is, you know, the husband wants the vents open, the wife wants them closed, and now you go to put it on heating and all the registers are closed. You're not moving any air.
Right.
You can run into problems with that. Filters, a lot of things along those lines.
And typically on the nameplate someplace it'll tell you what the recommended rise is. And it's not a number, it's a range.
Yeah.
So 45 to 70.
Yep.
I mean, I can date ourselves.
Is that called carbon dating?
Holly's had like 110-degree rise. They were good.
And then what ends up happening after that is once you shut the system down, they're going to do a post-purge or a cool down where it's going to run air through there to clean out the heat exchanger, and then you're going to be ready for the next operation.
Yeah, and the blower's going to continue to run to cool the firebox down.
Yep.
Firebox, heat exchanger, these are terms that are universal.
Interchangeable.
I hope.
Interchangeable.
Universal, interchangeable. Yeah.
Now, here's one of the things I love, and I love to play with the young techs on it, is number one, when they're having trouble with a flame rectification, I ask them if they check the other half. And they go, there is no other half. Well, there is another half, because that flame rectification, the flame has to go to ground.
It has to, yes.
So there is another half. So if you got screws missing or ground wires disconnected and things like that, look for those kind of things. The other thing is, if you've got a system that's been working, you probably don't need to look and see if the polarity is reversed.
That's true.
So
if one of your options on the alert is reversed polarity, probably go to the next one if it's more than a week old.
Yeah. So, you know, but the whole thing is, I mean, and I really think it's a great thing that they've put in the flash codes. It makes it easier for people to see how far they got on the process and everything.
Right.
But you don't have to have the flash codes when you're diagnosing an ignition problem on a system.
Nope.
So
familiarity and experience.
And I'll throw in a disclaimer. Now, what we just talked about is typically on a standard furnace. It's not high efficiencies, which get into.
It's not a 90%.
Yep.
It's not a Holly.
Yep. Because
now I did have a gentleman that called in on a, man, this is an old furnace. Standing pilot, 2-wire gas valve.
Optical flame proof?
No, bad thermocouple.
We have a question in the
Cool.
chat. So the inducer comes on, the igniter glows, the gas valve clicks, but nothing ignites. What should I check?
Number one, I'd see if the gas is turned on.
Yeah, in that same answer is, did you hear the gas.
He heard the gas valve click.
He
Didn't hear the
he
hits.
heard the valve click.
Yeah.
But did you hear the gas flowing?
Mhm.
How
many times have you cleaned out a drip leg?
Oh my gosh. The best service calls ever are the ones that your inducer motor came on, the HSI came on, you heard the gas valve click, then it's silent. So you go out and look and see if the gas meter is turned on.
We had one last season where the guy goes, yeah, I can't seem to get anything to work. And I said, did you check, make sure the gas is on? And he used a few expletives. The pool guy had been working on the pool heater and it turned off the gas.
Shut off the gas.
Yeah. So, go back to the basics. When we're looking for electrical problems, we typically like to make sure that the power is turned on.
Yeah. Now, if you do have, if you heard the click, you don't hear the gas, you check and you do have gas pressure on the pipe. If you have all of that, then it more than likely is a bad gas valve.
Yeah.
Because it's not, even though you hear the click, the diaphragm is still not lifting. So,
Yep.
but before, depending on how old it is, I've seen pipe dope get stuck in gas valves.
Oh, you'd be surprised if I found stuck in gas valves.
There's typically a screen where the gas valve, where the black iron pipe screws into the valve. There's typically a screen right there, and over time, you can collect stuff on that screen. I've fixed a couple
Yeah.
where the screens were plugged up with pipe dope.
Yep.
Crazy pipe fitter got just a little overzealous with his gray.
Gotta love them pipe fitters.
Well, you figure, the machine had been running fine for 10 years, but over time, the gas pressure and pushing the pipe dope down the line,
It migrated.
it migrated right there, buddy.
Got that big word in.
The ones with no drip legs, which you find in Southern California a lot that don't have drip legs.
Next.
Another term, drip leg, for those of those who don't
does that
understand,
mean?
drip leg is the gas line comes in, but you have a pipe before the gas valve that is below the gas valve. That is a drip leg. So if pipe dope or water or whatever comes in the line, it'll drop into that drip leg instead of going into the gas valve.
Yep. Now on the hot surface igniters, and I'll have to find it again.
Don't touch them.
Well, especially not when they're hot.
Well, yeah, especially when they're glowing red or white. But don't touch, if you're changing out an HSI, make sure that you do not touch the black carbon looking stuff. You may want to, it may be easier to grab a hold of, but if you touch it, the oil in your skin will burn that out right where your fingerprint's at.
Yeah. What I was going to say is that there is, depending upon the manufacturer, there is an ohm value for the resistance
Yes,
of those.
and amperage.
Yep. So those are things you can use when you're diagnosing problems with the hot surface igniters.
So what is it in gas that proves?
Depends on who you talk to.
I'm talking to you.
One guy said it was the water, and I'm like, okay, somebody's been smoking crack. Because it is flame rectification,
It is.
and the two best rectifiers are silicone and geranium. Okay, so we got no silicone or geranium in that flame, but there is carbon.
Carbon.
And I've also heard somebody else tell me that it's around the outdoor, the phlegm. I won't mention any names, but so it's the carbon.
We got to keep it a little simple.
Yeah.
So the carbon in the flame. So you have your flame rod. The flame rod is getting voltage from the board. As the flame hits that, the carbon that is being created because of the oxygen fuel mixture creating carbon is enough metallic material that you're taking that voltage from the flame rod back to ground. Where are they getting ground from? The burner itself is attached to the manifold, which is attached to the gas valve, which is all attached to the framework of the furnace.
Mm-hmm. And that's why sometimes when you slide those out and put them back in, and people don't put the screws back in,
Yeah.
you no longer have a good ground, so you're going to have problems with proving the flame.
And holy crap if they don't get everything lined up
Oh yeah.
and miss the hole.
I know where your mind's at.
We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it right there.
Oh.
You want me to keep rambling, or do we have another one?
Got a question.
Okay.
Can you, this is from Danny, can you replace a silicone carbide, I think that's how you say it, with a silicone nitride?
Danny. Would that be a universal hot surface igniter, Danny? Alrighty then.
Waiting for your response.
You keep waiting, big boy.
He said, "Oh crap."
And you thought I brought him along for his
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right,
They
Danny.
make universal hot surface igniters if they will fit in that space. Because Danny.
He said, "LOL, have a call."
Yeah.
good luck. Chicken.
You jump on that call, Danny. The universal replacements, I've always matched them because design is design.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter whether it's a round or the 2-wire, which it's got this W built into it. But you just match them up. I mean, can you change a wide configuration to a center post? I personally don't want to sit there and try and test it. I want to go back with what fits into the machine.
Well, I mean, they designed it that way for a reason. But then again, your universals, it may pull a little different current.
Yeah.
But you're still going to be fitting the same area.
Well, I've seen a whole lot of stuff on our forum.
Yeah.
We're getting into this heating season, and there's a lot of conversation going on the forum, which is awesome. I love that. I love the fact that everybody's getting together and doing this. But the biggest focus is just because you got it to fire once, don't just assume that it's good and run away. You can't walk away from that job. So in what Danny was just talking about, if I change styles,
Mm-hmm.
I need to sit there and make sure,
Let it
yeah,
get
it's going to
hot.
fire the first time.
Yep.
Does it fire the 5th or 6th time?
You got to let it get hot and try to restart it and do it
Because
cold.
yeah, I don't want to come back. I want the customer taken care of,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't want to call back. So that's why I always stick with the original design.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a wide body, I put it back in a wide body.
There you go.
If it's a stick, find a stick.
It's kind of like the your venting and stuff like that, where I got a guy call me and he says, we can't get things to quite work. And I asked him, I says, what's your venting look like? And he says, well, we got 3-inch vent pipe and we got like 1290s. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Is this a new install or an old install? Start there. But that's another one with these new 90% furnaces. You have to. I mean, again, going back to the forum
Mm-hmm.
post, gentleman found a bird's nest.
Mm-hmm.
There's another gentleman that found a squirrel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those are in the pipe. I have personal experience taking it's like, start it up and it's like, wow, that inducer motor is like really loud. So let's start there.
Yeah.
The machine wouldn't prove, the machine wouldn't start. I removed the inducer motor, and how it happened, I have no idea. Mother Nature is a freak. But there was actually a bird in the blower wheel of the inducer motor. got rid of the bird. The machine started working again. It was amazing.
It brings a whole new meaning to the term crispy critter.
Yeah. He was a little stiff.
Oh, come on, Jess. That was funny.
Dynamic HVAC New Jersey asked, can you repeat the way the flame rectifier gets grounded and how to check for proper grounding?
Well, what's happening is with the ignition taking place, the flame rod, typically between 80 and 120 volts being applied to the flame rod, and it is rectifying through the carbon in the flame to ground. So the ground is typically your burner assembly. The problem is that when they take that out and slide it back in and they don't put the screws in, it can sit there and it's not making good contact.
Mm-hmm.
So it no longer has a path to ground. That's why, I asked the guys if they've checked the other half of the flame rectifier, and
Right.
they say, what other half? It's the ground.
So let me try and draw you a picture. See if you can.
I'm gonna use the.
These are great. Do
I'm
we have a
use
small
the-
board? I
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
It's okay. If you got your hot surface igniter, it comes on and it glows. Next to the hot surface igniter or down the tube, you're going to have a rod coming up. The hot surface igniter is there to ignite the gas. Now, when it comes on, the flame is going to hit the flame rod. The flame rod itself has the voltage. The flame
I knew
I
this.
have value.
All right,
I have value.
we're gonna do this. All right, burners. Oh my gosh, flame rod because you got your carryovers. Flame rod, hot surface igniter. Oh, that's hard to draw. By the way, that's a wide body.
Looks like a little crown.
Yes, but the guys get what I'm talking about. There we go. Bring that down so it doesn't quite. So, as the flame comes out, and I'm going to do this very crudely. As the flame comes out, right? So this is your hot surface igniter with your wire going back to the board. As the flame is hitting that, this flame, this part is grounded. So this has whatever, Mikey alluded to 80 to 120 volts. Whatever the control voltage is coming off of the board, it's sending it out and it's looking for that signal to come back on ground, right? So as the flame is hitting that, so that flame is coming out of here, that flame hits that, you have, because of the carbon in the flame, you have a path back to ground, which proves that you have flame.
And what they're doing is they're reading the microamps.
Do you want the pen? I'll give you the pen. No, you don't want the pen? Okay.
What they're doing is they're reading the microamps that are flowing through. Oh, is that MA? No, that's milliamps. Damn it. So a lot of your meters you can read microamps, so you can put your meter in series and you can see what's going on. I think it's typically 45 to 70 microamps, but I would have to verify that to be positive.
How many of these guys know how to put their meter in series? Meter in series.
Maybe we can talk about that next week.
Hey, maybe we can. 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay.
How many guys want to see Buckle Up every week? All right. Jess is shaking her head no. By the way, you guys want to see a picture of Jess? How many of you guys want to see Jess sitting with Mike and Brian? We can put his chair over here. She can sit in the middle.
What value would I
It could be
add?
Mike and Brian with referee.
Oh, that would be good. Get her a blue on striped shirt.
There we go. I like it. I like it. What do you think, Jess?
Yeah, we can work with that. I'll have little flags.
There you go.
I don't know what
It's
I would
more
say.
like soccer. You wouldn't use flags.
Yeah, I
It
can
would
give
be
you a red
cards.
card.
Or
Red
from that
card for
position,
you.
you just kind of thump somebody in the back of the head.
Well,
Or just blow a whistle.
you know, she's used to yelling on a boat,
Oh yeah, that's true.
I'll just yell.
hence the flags.
Okay.
They
Doesn't
didn't
really.
use cards.
We didn't really use flags much in rowing, but. I'll just yell. Way enough means stop.
But we're not going to go down the paddle road.
Haha. Nice.
Gotcha.
That was good. That was good.
So before I start rambling into another section of heating, do we have any more questions?
At the moment, not that I can see. If you guys have any heating ignition sequence questions, ask them right now. Ask them away.
Yeah, we've got 2 avenues for you guys now. You can get a hold of us on the forum if it's not a pressing matter. And please feel free to look at the forum. If you've got the answer, don't hesitate. Throw the answer in there. We're accepting a whole lot of things in there, except for beating up people.
Yeah, not acceptable.
It has to be helpful information, please. The other thing is, if you need us, 24/7 tech support hasn't changed. We're still here. I talked about a little bit on the standing pilots, but there are still furnaces out there that came before 80%ers. So right now the typical is 80 and 90% efficiency furnaces. Prior to the 80%ers were standing pilots. You see those a lot in mobile type homes. And downshots and people that well, they just haven't gotten up into the 80s yet.
We have a question. I don't know if it's heating ignition sequence
Well, let's
related.
find out.
Let's go for it.
First off, hey guys.
Hey.
On some York units, the machine locked out in the AC session on something to do with the limit switch open. Any idea why?
Oh, you said air conditioning and then you said limit.
On the AC session on something to do with the limit switch open.
AC section.
You said York or Linux?
You said
York.
York.
And then after you said RTUs.
Rooftop unit.
Yeah.
Wow. On the cooling section, your limits.
It would typically be that lower one in the lower section.
Yeah, there is a limit in the blower. Man, I'm trying to think on the York, when you open that up, carriers it was in the front. On the York, just behind the belt, where it's leaving. Because our carrier blows down, York blows back, right behind. Man,
Behind the blower section.
been a couple of days, but it's behind the blower.
Linux is behind the blower too, that S21.
But both the carrier on the rooftop units, both the carriers and the Yorks in certain fashion. The reason that the limit is there in the blower section is you have your rollout switches, but the heat exchanger is below the blower compartment.
Someone else chimed in. He said he means during cooling season, the high limit trips.
Oh, on a rooftop unit? Oh yeah. Daggone, I've had that. That's a nuisance trip, and it's because the machine shut off, the blower fan probably was not running, and the sun baking on the cabinet tripped the limit. So, how would you'll probably end up replacing the switch, because I won't tell you how to jimmy rig a manual reset switch. I just won't do that. It's not that you can take a manual reset auxiliary limit behind the blower. It's not that you can take that out and put a automatic reset in. I wouldn't tell you that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Hint, hint.
But chances are, because it's not supposed to trip, the auxiliary limit behind the blower is typically set at 210 or above. So if you're tripping in the summertime, you probably have a bad limit. It's probably tripping too soon. Thank you, whoever clarified what that reference was. Peace.
All right, any last questions? We'll start to wrap up here if you guys don't have any
Man,
more.
has it been that time already?
It's been 37 minutes.
Man, we're flying. So, standing pilots.
Yeah, I was going to hit you with that. Difference between a thermocouple and a thermopile.
The voltage, the diameter of the thermopile. So, thermopile typically has two wires that are going back to the valve, puts out higher voltage, and it's rated in millivolts. Thermocouple, which you'll see still on today's water heaters. Thermocouple puts out 750 millivolts, and that connects to the gas valve, which holds the pick coil for the pilot.
The difference between a thermocouple and a thermopile is a thermopile is a bunch of thermocouples. That's how you get the higher voltage.
And typically has two wires.
Yep, still has two wires.
Thermocouple is looks like a copper tube wrapped around with a brass nut on the end, but it's actually two different metals.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a question or not, but someone said, have a train 90% inducer fan runs continuously. I don't know if that's a statement or a question.
That is a question. On a 90% furnace, I realize he said a specific manufacturer, but if you have a inducer draft motor that is running all the time, you need to look at your safeties and see which one of them is open. The fail-safe is if something goes wrong, again, it either turns on the indoor blower motor or it turns on the inducer motor to grab somebody's attention that service is needed on those machines.
Yeah, and it can be both because they're trying to, if there happens to be gas blowing in there, they've got the forced draft to keep it as safe as possible. So
it could be a simple reset, it could be a bad board, it could be a bad fuse, could be a bad fuse link. It's all that stuff that you have to check out.
Yeah.
But typically if the inducer motor and the blower motor, of course, you had the door off, split system, door off, thermostat calling for either heat or cool. When you put the door back on, the indoor blower motor would run until you turn the thermostat off and turn the thermostat back on.
yeah.
If you had main power turned off, the default was to run the blower if the thermostat was calling for either heat or cool. But the inducer, it had nothing to do with the inducer motor.
Brienne says, say go Rams and make my father happy, LOL.
I told her to quit bugging me at work. And go Rams.
She's been helpful. She's been pointing out questions that I didn't see and stuff. Been great. Someone commented, all the goats.
Yes, I am a goat.
That's a phrase. You're the goat means you're like the coolest person.
I always thought it was the greatest of all time.
Unless they put
Oh.
old in front of it.
And I also fit that category.
Brienne said, not gonna happen.
That's true. And I keep her as humble as I try and be.
All right, last question here, and we'll wrap it up. I had a Climate Master water source heat pump that is only running on fan, but compressor doesn't start.
Oh, any number of things. I don't think that is big enough to have a flow switch.
No, Climate Master typically doesn't have a flow switch, but water source heat pump, Make sure that you do have water flow. Make sure that you haven't lost your head pressure, high pressure switch, because you start gumming up the coil on that thing, the water coil, and the machine sits there in cycles. They typically had peanut controls in them, not a adjustable or anything like that. They typically had a peanut switch in them, non-resettable. So it would sit there and automatically open, close, open, close, open, close, and that burns up a switch. So look at your high pressure control, your low pressure control. Make sure that your valve is opening if you are tripped on head pressure. Make sure that the water valve is opening. If it's constant flow and water source heat pump, typically it's not. Make sure that the boiler and the tower are working and not working against each other. Boiler trying to get the loop up to 110, cooling tower trying to get the loop back down to 80. So you're running both of them. It is a major waste of energy. So you're gonna have to look at the whole picture. Feel free to call us.
Yep.
That's what Danny said. Said call tech support, LOL. It's funny.
I guess he finished that call he was on.
I guess so. He's been commenting throughout. So.
I think Danny sleeps as little as I do. It's amazing. We've got an awesome team.
Yeah, we really do.
Listening to these guys, talking to these guys, and watching the forum posts. I watch a lot of things, guys. But yeah, I don't think Blue On sleeps.
If you haven't checked out the forum, make sure you update your app. So go to the App Store and update your app if you haven't already, and then you'll get access to the latest version of the forum, which is super cool. You can sort really easily, find what you need when you need it, communicate with other techs. It's in real time, so it's really
and you can
helpful.
follow if you
can
want
follow tags.
If you want to keep track of any post, say compressor issues, condenser issues, you can click on compressor or you can click on condenser and you can follow. So anytime there's a chat regarding those tags, it'll send you a notice.
Yeah. And for you old timers that have been doing this a lot of years and everything, and some of you younger guys that are pretty hip to what's going on, jump on the forum, answer some of the questions and stuff, help out, because as this forum grows and grows and grows, it's going to be a huge database of information that's going to make things easier for everybody. So,
Yeah.
you know, I know a lot of old timers like me have had people in their lives that were very, very much into getting them where they are today.
Yes.
They took them under their wing and everything. And a lot of those guys are saying, Mike, how can I give back? I want to help the industry.
Forum is huge.
Yep. Jump
Forum
on
is
there,
huge.
post some stuff, help out. You know, if there's not a post on there, excuse me, go in and post something. If you've got something that is important or something that you think, you know, you ran into a service call and you beat your head against the wall for hours and hours and hours before you found the problem, post that. Because maybe now the young guy comes along and he goes, oh, I'm having this problem, and there's the answer, something he's not even thinking of, and he goes, oh, I'm going to go check this, and solves the problem. So, you know, share the stuff you find, because it can be very helpful to someone else.
And don't be afraid to post either when you find that hairy condenser that hasn't been touched in 20 years.
Yep.
We'll take the funny ones too, man.
Oh yeah. Oh,
There's
yeah.
a separate tag for memes, so that's in there for a reason.
You
Use
know,
it.
guys, as a tech for doing this for way too many years, we're in this together.
Yeah.
And we're losing too many of the old guys with 30 to 50 years experience, and we're getting the young guys coming in with 3 to 6 months of trade school. So we've got to help each other out. And so from the bottom of my heart, you know, to everybody that posts on there, thank you. You know, if we all share our knowledge, we're going to make a huge difference in the air conditioning field and the trade and for the youngsters. So,
yeah, that's the beauty of it is we are not the I learned it the hard way, you need to learn it the hard way.
No.
We are in it. We're educators. We are people that were fortunate enough to have this awesome group of people that learned us,
Yeah, exactly.
that taught us, that were willing to stay up until midnight at a dining room table, drawing shit down on white paper to make sure that we understood what the problem was, to help us design equipment, just the extra effort. I mean, I could go into ridiculous stories of. I come from a family of air conditioning people, and the amount of people that would show up at 7 o'clock at night, wearing a suit and a tie, to talk to 3 people around a dining room table because of that knowledge that they had.
Yeah.
Showing up in the suit and the tie was the respect to the knowledge. But I digress.
Again.
Once again.
But no,
I keep diving into these. Yeah.
But seriously, guys, take 5 minutes. If you have a really interesting service call or a really unique problem, take 5 minutes and put it on the post. You know, because it's going to help other people.
Yeah. And if you are having problems with your update, your app, we are aware of some. Please let us know. It's a huge change, and with change comes issues that we don't know about. You know why cars have warranties? Because sometimes they break. So don't get mad at us. Let us know. Worst case scenario, delete the app and reinstall the app, and everything goes away. I was talking to Mikey. I've got an older phone, and I'm probably going to have to update it as much as I don't really want to, because I like to hold on to stuff. I think I have my original gauges. I know I've got an amp probe.
I've got an amp probe. You know, I mean,
For those of you that don't know what an amp probe is, Google that.
But I mean, you know, it comes down to the old thing. If we're doing good, tell your friends. If we're doing something that's not good, tell us so we can fix it.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, it's like when we talk to you guys, if there's something that you think would be helpful to you, let us know. I mean, we've got a phenomenal group of team that does the app. You know, we've got some engineers that are, you know, as much as I pick on engineers, they are really fantastic people and they want to help. So if there's something that you want, let us know. I mean, I don't know how many of you know, but we now have the Target Superheat calculator in there.
Right.
And that was because people said, you know, I come up to the unit, there's not a charging chart on the side of the unit, it's all wore off and everything.
The decal's gone, right?
So the whole idea was to get that onto the app to make your life easier, so you're not trying to track something down, it's right there in your hand. So if there's other things that would be helpful to you, let us know.
And the Target Superheat calculator has all the different refrigerants.
Yes, it does.
So
So
it's,
let us know if there's things
we're
that would be
working on
really
it all the
helpful.
time.
Yep. I
It's
mean,
all about you guys.
yep. So
All right.
All right, cool.
October
Reminder,
21.
Next buckle up. Yep, October 21. Be here. Tell your friends. Update the app. Download the app if you haven't. It's free. Nothing to lose at all. And yeah, tell your friends. That's it.
Like, subscribe, hit the bell,
Follow.
follow,
Comment.
you know, before
all
we go,
this
Brian,
stuff. YouTube, Instagram. We love you guys. Yes.
on the app, I have guys saying, "Hey, is there anything we can do to help you guys?"
Yep.
If you're on Google or if you're on Apple, go in and put a good rating in the app. Put a comment. If we do something good, put a comment. Say, "Hey, these guys helped me out." You know, because that's what our higher ups see. And so when you guys go in, and
Yeah, they don't really watch us.
well, you know, they used to have hair and now they don't have hair. I mean, you know.
That's because they watch him.
But no, guys, thank you for all the effort you guys are doing in the forum. Thank you for being part of the Blue On community. And like I say, if there's anything we can do to help you, please let us know.
And let me know if you guys want me to start putting up pop-up beer stands. All right. Later.
What?
Peace out.